You know, it's pretty scary watching your mom try to peel one off of her own skin, wondering if it's cheese or her skin. Yeah, he was another friend of ours, and he got hit by a car, and he flew in the air like 20, 30 feet, man. I remember, and he had brain damage so bad. I'm like, yeah, I was a full-blown alcoholic at like 9 or 10 years old on the news channel, fucking Channel 9 News, bro. Dude, we would hide crack rocks around the house, dude, so we could try to find them later. Like, we'd run out, dude, be like, where did we hide them? You know, be looking behind you. I pull it out, and I just start peeing everywhere, hoping that they don't come by me. I'm like, stay away from me. And they're like, turn around, sir. Blood everywhere, dude. You know them old horror movies where you got like handprints up and down? Like, it was like that, dude, and like, pretty sure I'm gonna die. Like, I'm pretty sure these dudes are killing me. I'm going like this. I'm holding onto my doors like this, trying to pull myself out. And they're holding onto my waist, trying to pull me in. You know, I used to wear these crazy disguises and stuff to the casinos. You know, I'd dress up as an old man, and I'd get a cane, and
Welcome to the Tested and Twisted podcast. I'm your host. My name is Chase Shaw. I'm going to apologize for the subpar lighting and the kind of janky setup right now. I really wanted to get this podcast in the books and recorded as soon as possible. And my lovely cousin here, Rob Cosentino, everybody, the one and only, he wasn't going to be able to come down to Florida anytime soon. So I figured, why not just come and visit him in good old Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, yeah. How you doing today, Rob?
Great, man. I feel super blessed, dude. I'm very excited about this. I have been excited about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
No, actually, I watched the first episode recently. So, and since I seen that, even more excited, I guess. You know, I think it's really cool what you're doing here, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Hell yeah.
So,
you were actually when I first started this podcast, when I first started getting the ball rolling, I had like a short list of guests, and you were at the top of the list. I feel like you have a lot of amazing stories, and you have a good arc, as they say.
Wow,
a good arc.
Thanks, man. That's like a huge compliment.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just we'll jump right in. Start at the top. Where were you born?
Well, we're in Minnesota.
True.
So yes, I was born right here in the suburbs, over in actually Fridley, just right outside of Minneapolis. So we live in the suburbs of Minneapolis.
And are you the oldest, youngest?
Yes, I am the oldest. I was born in 1980. I got a sister and a brother. They're my full sister and brother, and then I got a half brother. My sister's 3 years younger than me, and my brother's 5 or 6 years younger than me.
Okay.
And then my other brother's like, I don't know how many years younger than me. A lot.
And do you come from like a functioning normal family, or are your parents together right out the gates, or do you kind of come from another you know?
Well, they're together out the gates. Like I wasn't a bastard child.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I feel you.
So, but you know, and that, like I said, that was a long time ago, you know, so, but no, I mean, I was from what you would call like probably a normal family, but we weren't normal on the inside at all. I mean,
Welcome to the club.
You know, I mean, that's just the way it was. It was not, you know, my upbringing was, you know, there was a lot of abuse and stuff, you know. My dad was pretty abusive to my mom, and, you know, I kind of got accustomed to it, I guess, you know. So, but you know, abusive then is just, I don't know, it was like considered kind of normal.
Which is super fucked up.
It is, you know. I mean, nowadays it's like, you know, you look the wrong direction, you might, you know, catch a case or something. But back then, you could beat the shit out of your wife, and it was no big deal.
Yeah. And did you witness this abuse like firsthand?
Oh yeah, you know. Well, so you know, like, you know, I was really young. But yeah, I did. You know, my dad was brutal, dude. So, you know, like, you know, back in the 80s, you know, back when they would actually deliver a pizza, you know, within 30 minutes. You know?
Not anymore.
and they would get to your house, and they were actually hot. You know, it's pretty scary watching your mom try to peel one off of her own skin, wondering if it's cheese or her skin. You know, so I mean, my dad would beat her, and I would see it. Yeah, I mean, she'd come home to it. It would be like, it wasn't like a beating, like, hey, you know, you know, don't ever look in that man's direction again. Whoosh, you know,
Yeah.
it was like, dude, she would come home and say, hey, kids, I got hit by a car last night, you know.
Yeah.
So, and she would have the bruises to prove it, you know.
Yeah,
so,
that gives me chills thinking
Oh,
about
dude,
that.
I
Being a
can't-
little kid and just trying to process that.
yeah.
And when you're a little kid, you think that kind of stuff is like, when it's all you know, it seems normal to you. But when you look at it as an adult, you realize like how messed up that was. Like you weren't doing that to, like you would never put your kids in that situation. So
no.
like putting yourself in that mindset of your dad, like thinking like, what the hell were you thinking? Doing this in front of your own kids. Like obviously now there's so much more out there in the world where people understand that trauma is a thing.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
trauma wasn't a thing back then. It was kind of just like you just do your thing kind of deal.
I think people were just so blind to it, right? So, well, with all the research and, you know, obviously all the stuff that's happened over the last, you know, 30, 40 years or whatever, I mean, people have learned so much about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, back then it was kind of normal and people didn't really know how to get out of a situation that was abusive, you know. I mean, my mom was one of the first ones probably in the 90s, you know, like, or you know, late 80s when she finally broke away from my dad and she started becoming part of this thing called the Alexander House. And, you know, she was one of the women that was fighting back. You know, she was like one of the people that was like one of the, you know, higher ups there trying to help other women get
Also,
away
she
from.
was involved.
Oh yes, dude, big time. This was a
Really?
big thing after she'd. So when we broke away, when I was really young, you know, we kind of broke away from my dad, and we moved up into Hurley, and then my mom met my stepdad, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, long of the short, you know, when we came back, you know, when I was about 7 or something, she became part of the Alexander House.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Did obviously he was beating the shit out of your mom. Did he ever put his hands on you in any way, shape,
Never.
or form?
Dude,
Which
my
is-
dad was weird, man. Like he would tell me, he'd be like, "You're my favorite kid." He would tell me that stuff, dude.
Seriously?
So I always thought my dad was like a good dude. Like I thought he was a good guy. You know, I loved my dad. I didn't realize until my latter years, like that he was really probably not the greatest dude when it came to especially my mom. And you know, I didn't realize that I was, as a child, thinking that trauma, like thinking that this stuff was normal, dude. Like when I was a kid, like I had this babysitter, like when I was a little kid, when I was like 5, and her name was, she's long gone. She was like 80 years old, so I'm just gonna say her real name was Ladora, and it just sounds nasty, doesn't
Yeah,
it, dude?
it
Could you
does.
imagine like an 80-year-old lady named Ladora babysitting you, and you're 5? You know, when you go over there, the first thing she tells you to do is go and eat breakfast underneath the table, bro, not at the table. So, you know, this is the kind of stuff I was accustomed to. Like, I would go to daycare and I would eat under the table, and then she would drag me out from under the table by my hair and tell me to do whatever. And if I didn't, she would, you know, duct tape me and like break my G.I. Joes and stuff in front of my face, dude. But I never really thought nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Maybe because I was seeing my dad beat my mom. I don't know. Maybe because I had seen babies be shaken, dude, and, you know, parents hurt kids and kids hurt parents, you know, who knows, dude? Like, this is stuff that I don't know the answers to right now, but, you know, stuff that I'm definitely seeing as a child, you know. So, and I'm feeling, you know, and so anyways, this is all happening. My mom notices that, you know, my hair is like, a chunk of my hair is missing out of my hair, and she pulls me out of daycare, you know, and so this is like stuff that really happened. I never told her what really happened until I was like an adult, dude.
So she never even got the chance to confront the babysitter.
No. The babysitter was long gone and passed away by the time I ever told my mom the truth about any of that.
Man, I wonder how many kids out there have the same story as you.
I don't know, man. It's crazy, right? I know none of the kids that went to daycare with me did.
Yeah, because you were the.
I was the one.
You were the one.
I was the one, dude.
But there's probably many kids over the years, you know, which is
So-
really, really sad.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of my, you know, my stuff that I believed came like my PTSD and my trauma and my stuff, right? I thought maybe it came when I was an adult, but I honestly look back and I think that maybe a lot of it came when I was so young that I didn't even realize it, you know.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, a lot to process as a kid. You getting this stuff was happening to your mom, which maybe you didn't realize how messed up it was at the time, but there's a part of your subconscious that, like, you know that's not okay.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
then at the same time, you're dealing with this stuff with your babysitter. I mean, that's brutal. That's most kids will never deal with that level of trauma in their life, and you were dealing with it at the same time. That's heavy.
Yeah, I guess looking back, you think about it, and it's definitely some stuff that my kids never had to. I mean, I've obviously made some mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone does.
but I mean, it's different now.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that, well, first of all, I wasn't telling the truth about my babysitter. I didn't know any better. I was a kid. It's not anybody's fault. It's not my parents' fault.
Right.
I don't even know if my dad knew any better, and he's not around to ask. So.
Yeah. Was he a pretty heavy drinker?
Oh yeah, heavy drinker, weed. Dude, we had the sunflowers in the backyard. Our whole garden was sunflowers on the outside and then weed plants on the inside.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "You ain't allowed in the garage this week because you'd be hanging all the plants." I go downstairs, dude. There's coolers full of weed, and all of the little cars that you think are like Elvis Presley cars. You open them up and they're all booze bottles and stuff.
Oh shit,
and,
yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. My dad was in it thick, dude. He was.
Do you think a lot of his abuse towards your mom came from drinking?
I don't know a whole lot about my dad's family background. I know that his mom was, I believe his mom was either murdered or she killed herself or something. He found her, in her bedroom, like shot. I believe. I'm not 100% sure of the stories, but I think he had a pretty traumatized. I think his mom was kind of a drunk, and I think he had kind of a traumatizing childhood.
Yeah, which makes, it checks out.
Yeah.
Most people don't just start beating their wife senseless.
Yeah, and of course, abuse drops down the line, right?
It does.
Luckily it stopped with me, dude. It did not stop with my, some other siblings of mine.
Yeah, yeah.
And and that's sometimes what happens, dude, when you see certain things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I feel you.
And luckily for me, I don't know, man. I'm not built like some people, so.
No, you're a sensitive guy.
Yep.
And maybe when you're hardened a little bit by drugs, you can kind of curve that a little bit. But I know the real Rob. You're a sensitive guy.
No, I don't like to. I don't like that stuff. So.
No, you shouldn't.
Even when I did hurt people, when I was in anger of my life, even when I hurt people, I always felt terrible about it, dude. And a lot of the people I hurt, I ended up becoming close friends with.
Isn't that weird how that happens?
Dude. And you know what? And probably still am.
Yeah. That's always the craziest thing to me. I had the same experience. I would hurt people, and then later down the road, I would run into them, apologize to them, and then we'd be friends. Right. One of my best friends growing up from like 18 to 22 was a person that I technically was a bully to in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just wild, And then I remember I saw him at the gym one day, and I just looked at him, and I remember thinking just like, I really put that kid through some shit. I really did. I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff I said to him. You know what? I will. He had a mom that passed away, and I remember like kind of punking him in front of a group of people and being like, your mom would be so ashamed of you. Like, dude, it was bad, dude. And it really wasn't good. And I just remember seeing him at the gym one day when we were older, and I was just like, man, I was just going through a lot in life, and I just feel so bad that I said that to you and I made you feel that way. And he's like, man, he was honest. He's like, I hated you. I thought about murdering you. I hated you. You ruined high school for me for most of the time until I got kicked out. Kind of off track, but goes along with what we're talking about. Anyway, did your mom and dad's split, was it a volatile split, or was it kind of just like your dad dipped out? What was the situation?
Dude, by the time my mom left, she was terrified, dude. There was I'm serious, man. My dad would be rapping on that door. We would lock ourselves in rooms. Open that fucking door, Cindy, open that door now. Get away from them kids, he would say, because she'd be trying to make sure we're safe, even though, honestly, I don't think my dad ever would have hurt us. Mm-hmm. He never was like that. Until my brother got older, then he whooped my brother's ass real good. Mm-hmm. Probably deserved it.
Hey, we all deserve a little.
I'm not saying I didn't deserve an ass whooping too, but
we all deserve a little bit of an ass whooping. Yeah. Some of us just didn't get it.
but no, it was one of them things where we snuck out in the middle of the night, and she said, "Hey, we're going on the trail." And the trail meant we're going up north to Grandma's house, up to the peninsula. We'd go. My family, my mom and my father's family they're from Hurley, Wisconsin. That's up in the peninsula, up by Michigan. It's where all the Yoopers are, all the hillbillies and the hicks. Yeah, then there, Robert. Why don't you grab me a beer there now, bud? That kind of thing. So, and so we went on the trail. I remember in the middle of the night, and that's kind of where we started over, or my mom started over. And at that point in time, dude, back then, it was hard to break away from an abusive relationship especially with a man, because they would keep women locked up, dude. And the cops wouldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They would come over and say, all right, stop fighting. You know, and that was it, dude. So we snuck out. And then my mom got up north. She met a guy. And his name was Kurt. He actually passed away recently from cancer. But you know what? I was rebellious, dude. I didn't like him, and I was trouble. And when I got up to Hurley, Wisconsin, I did whatever I wanted. I didn't care. I lost my dad, even though he was abusive. I still loved him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was like the best person in the world. You know, I was a kid. And when I went up to Hurley, I started in these Catholic schools, and you know, got expelled out of them, dude. I mean, no doubt, right? I mean, I wasn't about to kneel, stand, sit, sing. Oh man, they had me doing all. I remember I'd come home and I'd be like, Mom, I hate this school. I got to put my socks on, because I called my socks ons because they had to wear them black socks, you know, like wedding socks or whatever.
Yeah,
I hated it because I had to have my jean jacket, and I thought I was all cool, you know. Because all my older cousins, you know, I hung around them, and they would, you know, huff gas out of four-wheelers and stuff. And I was like, that's where I want to be, you know, building little crate forts out in the woods and stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that, you know. So I always wanted to be with the older kids. I started smoking. I'm robbing. I remember I robbed this. That's when I started doing criminal activities, too. I was really young. I was only like 7, 8 years old when I started getting into criminal life. And I just took what I wanted and, you know, robbed a True Value of this warehouse, dude. It cost my mom a fortune, like 30 or 40 grand, you know, and I was doing this kind of stuff and trying to hurt my mom because she left my dad.
So you were blaming her.
Oh, dude, big time, man.
Yeah.
I didn't see the truth then. You know, I was a kid. I was like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I'm like, why did my mom ever marry this asshole? Like, I shouldn't even be alive. Like,
Yeah.
I should be, like, in the grave with this dude.
Right,
like,
right,
you know?
right.
And so, but, you know, like I said, you know, so anyways, we did that thing in Hurley for a while until she got pretty, I think she got engaged with this Kurt, and then at that point we moved back to the cities. We moved back to the same house in Blaine that we were in, and then we ended up moving into our own house in Coon Rapids. Mm-hmm. And then at that point I was like 9, and that's when I kind of like. That's kind of like where I like started like my teen roots. You know, that's kind of where we dwelled. That was it. You know, I was like a Coon Rapids boy.
Right.
And you know, that's, you know, after that was like, I guess that was a point in my life when some other pretty serious trauma stuff happened too. You know, I had developed these friendships with these guys, and we had a pretty tight knit neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I still to this day could probably find a way to contact every kid in that neighborhood. As a matter of fact, I just ran into one of them 2 weeks ago at the Home Depot that I hadn't seen in 35 years. I said, he goes, Rob? I'm not even kidding you, dude. I said, hey, man, I was thinking about you the other day. I used to run around the neighborhood. You used to chase us around like you're going to kill us, you know, because they were like 6 years older than us, you know. He's like laughing, and you know, so I mean, we were just a real tight knit neighborhood. That was back in the day, you know, when we didn't have cell phones and we had to go outside, dude. Believe it or not, I used to play myself a lot of hockey. I used to sit down at the hockey rink. We'd pack a lunch, dude, in the morning. We'd go down to the hockey rink. We'd play hockey all morning. We'd eat our lunch, and we'd play hockey all night. I got a scar right on my eye getting hit by a hockey stick. Better believe it, dude. So you know, we did that, and then my buddy Daryl, we always did that, and I got real close to this kid, and then I started playing sports, and that kind of like. For me, that's what kind of like helped me become like okay with my stepdad at that time, because he would bring me to my sports and he kind of would help me too. And then my friend, and he was like my best friend, and we played football and baseball together. And then in 1990, we were all going to go play a game down at the park. You know, we all gather up, and I'm on the road calling over to, hey, you know, and he's running across the street with another friend of ours, and he got hit by a car, and he flew in the air like 20, 30 feet, man, I remember, and he had brain damage so bad, they took him to the hospital that night, and they had to pull the plug on him. It was June 7th of 1990, so that was like pretty traumatizing as a child too, because at that point in time, we had the whole neighborhood. We had this. So our like all of our best, like he was like the coolest kid in the neighborhood, mm-hmm. and he got hit by a car and died, you know. And
you saw this,
and it was and I saw it visually. I actually saw that part, yeah. And then another close friend of mine, who's still a very, very close friend of mine to this day, was actually standing right next to him when it happened. Like it was a situation, right? And it really was a sting to the neighborhood, but it it also brought us all closer in a way.
And it's probably, it's one of those things where it kind of makes you realize that life is a gift, and at any moment shit can just get ripped from you.
Yeah, dude, it can. Young, old, and there's a lot that goes with that too. But I mean, at that point in time, when you got you and all your best friends, or the pallbearer in your best friend's funeral, it does some stuff to some kids, dude.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much when I started like doing marijuana, and I was already smoking cigarettes. It was like a thing for me already to smoke, and I'd smoke cigarettes till I'd puke, dude.
Well, and you're up in Hurley, you're drinking.
Yeah.
You know how it is up north.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was drinking. That was the gateway for me, is the drinking. You go up to Hurley, dude, and at that age, you can just go and sit at the bar with your family. 100%. It's not a big deal, dude.
Yeah.
I got pictures of me passed out in the coat, like the pile of jackets, dude, with balloons and stuff at these weddings and stuff. When I'm like 7 and 8 years old, bro, just tanked, dude. Next to the keg and stuff. I just did a little thing on the news. I was on the news a couple of years ago, dude, for Teen Challenge, because I'd gotten sober. Anyways, long or the short, but I was on the news, and on the news clip, I'm like, yeah, I was a full blown alcoholic at like 9 or 10 years old. On the news channel 9 news, bro. I'm like, really? Out of everything I said, you throw that on there? Thanks.
Yeah, they knew that if that got replayed, it would get attention. It's the clicks, man. People love that shit.
Yeah, they want to hear a 40-year-old man tell him he's a drunk when he's 9. Trust me, when I watch it with my mom, she's like, "Who is that kid's mother?" Believe me, man.
Which is so fucking funny to look back on it and just think like, man, that was pretty normal back then. I mean, I wasn't alive, but like I've heard a lot of these stories. It's just like that was normal. That was just like normal everyday shit. And now you would never see an 8-year-old at a bar, dude. Period. Let alone drinking at a bar.
Bro, it ain't even a thing anymore.
Yeah. Maybe in Hurley you do. I don't know. They're still stuck a little bit.
You never know, actually. You never know. You'd think over years it'd change, but once you get up there far enough, you're talking Red Lake life, baby.
Yeah, shit changes the farther you go up north until you hit Canada. And I don't know what goes on up there, but
that's right.
So like you said, that was your first, that was the first sting. Obviously, you had a lot you dealt with before then, but maybe this was the first thing that made you feel that certain type of depth of feel.
No matter when something like that happens to a child, well, when it happened to me, I can't speak for everybody. I remember conversations with my mom. It didn't matter how many friends I had.
Yeah.
I felt alone.
Yeah.
There was nobody.
Yeah.
There was nobody else. It didn't matter, So I turned to drugs and whatever else.
Well, and the thing is it's like therapy back then wasn't a thing. Yeah, maybe there was people getting into therapy, but now if that happened to your kids, you wouldn't just be like have a quick conversation with them before bed, being like, hey, is you good? You good? Now you'd be like, you need to go to therapy. You need to talk to someone about this. You would understand that this could affect their life forever, potentially.
Right. Yeah.
Back then it was, not necessarily rub some dirt on it, but rub some dirt on it and figure it out.
There was a lot of that. My mom did try to get me into therapy, but, it was, I don't know, man. I did what I wanted, dude. Even when I was a kid, I thought I was an adult, period, dude. I hung out with all my older cousins. I was really close to my family, and back then, you had to be with your family. You couldn't just call them on their cell phone. There wasn't a direct way to be with your family unless you were with them. Mm-hmm. There wasn't so I spent a lot of time with my cousins and stuff, and they were always older. And I grew up fast. All the kids in my neighborhood were a little older, and that was it for me, dude. I wanted to be an adult since I can remember. Mm-hmm. I never got that opportunity like my kids to just chill and be a kid and play video games. I played video games in the middle of the night when I was done tipping, garbage cans and egging my neighbors' houses or something. I was a troublemaker, and I got outside and I did stuff and
being a menace.
Yeah, dude, and I just and then when he died though, that was a turning point for me. That's when I was like, I was running away from home when I was 12 years old, dude. I'm like, I'm never coming back. Mm-hmm. And but my mom, she stuck it out, dude. She put herself through college, and she did a lot to really. She really, man. We put her through it, dude. And my sister is a blessing. I can't even tell you, but she had a hard time probably with my brother. You know what I mean? So there was some stuff there too. So but she really dug herself out of it, and she had some good support with Kurt. you know, and then we moved out into, I ended up moving from Coon Rapids when I was about, I want to say I was 12, 13. So I ended up moving from Coon Rapids, and I ended up going to high school in Anoka. And then I went out there for a while, and my mom and my stepdad got a divorce. And at this point, you know, I'm already like I'm playing sports to like stay out of trouble, and I'm a really good athlete, and that's probably like the only thing that's really good for me and keeping me in good spirits. I'm a good kid. I'm respectful to adults, but I don't know, man. I just got something inside me. And there's some anger there, and I'm fighting a lot, and I end up getting kicked out of school for it. You know, I end up getting expelled from Anoka High School. I'm a dropout at 14 years old. You know, I got an 8th grade education, bro, straight up. So, you know, I get into that, and then it's pretty much over. I'm out of school. I'm an adult now. I got my first job, and
what was the first job?
Well, my first real job was doing construction. I was framing houses. My stepdad, when my mom left my first stepdad, Kurt, and we moved down into Anoka, which was pretty sweet for me because it was right by anywhere I could get drugs. And it was right in the city, dude. I was like, this is cool, you know. Yeah. So I'm down and dirty, dude. I remember living in that apartment. We lived in this apartment, and she had met my stepdad now, and they're still together 20 years later or whatever, however long it is, 25. And I remember I had a little drive-through. I was at this point, I was only 14 years old. I would have people come into my window and buying meth and taking off.
Just 14 years old?
Dude, my stepdad would be like, what the hell, man? This isn't a drive-through drug deal. He goes, this ain't a McDonald's, Rob. You're going to get caught. My stepdad's telling me this, dude.
You're like, no, I ain't.
Yeah, well, you know, he's sober. He's sober. You know, he's been sober for years, but he used to run with the bikers. He knows what it's like. So he's trying to teach me, you know, hey, listen, pal, you're going to get in fucking trouble. You're going to get somebody around you in trouble. So anyways, this is like a real thing for me at this point. I'm like working a full-time job. I am like an adult now, you know, and I'm so bad into drugs already. You know, I end up I call my boss. I says, listen, man, because I fainted at work. I passed out. I fainted at work the day before.
Was it like an exhaustion thing?
Yes, from being too coked out, dude.
Yeah.
So I call my boss, and I'm like, so I'm only 15 years old, dude. And I call my boss, and I'm like, hey, listen, I have a drug problem, and I can't work because I need to get cleaned up. You know, and he gives me the whole speech, you know, you can't soar with the eagles if you're going to hang with the pigeons or something like that, you know.
You're like, right now I'm a pigeon, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck those eagles.
Whatever. So anyways, then I find out my girlfriend's cheating on me because she's got some kind of weird disease or something. I don't know. Anyways, long and short, I end up calling my Uncle Bill at like 2 in the morning, dude. So my Uncle Bill is like a father to me. You know, when my dad left, my mom left my dad when we were younger to round back, I apologize. But so my Uncle Bill like kind of stepped in. So my Uncle Bill and my Auntie Nanny, very, very close, and they are the parents to my older cousins that I always hung out with, the tight-knit family. So I spent, you know, if I wasn't at home, I was usually at Auntie Nanny and Uncle Bill's. So I called Uncle Bill, and they had lived up north about 2.5 hours west of the cities, I think, maybe a little bit northwest. And I said, Uncle Bill, I said, I need you to come get me. And, dude, Uncle Bill, to me, is like, I don't know, I just love that man so much. When he answers the phone, answered the phone at that time in the morning, and he said, what's wrong? And I said, come get me. He didn't ask me, you know, like, why or whatever. Like, he didn't, like, question it. You know, he just came and got me. He's like, I'll be there in a couple hours. Right. And I called my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm fucking leaving. I'm done. I can't do this. I'm too messed up. Okay. I mean, dude, I'm a kid, dude. Yeah. So this is the thing, you know. She's over at Jeff's. You know, I says, all right, you know. So I go there, and I never came home, dude. I went up there up north with Uncle Bill and, you know, Reese and my older cousin and your mom. They were already living up there, so. I mean, honestly, I was probably destined to be there anyways. Right. You know, I mean, I was already so close to that part of the family. Sometimes my mom would even call me a Levitt. She'd literally be like, yeah, you're a Levitt. You know, she would always do that, and I would just laugh. I'd say, no, I'm not. I'm a Cosentino. You know, but she always wanted to put me in that part of the family. You know, and you know, Auntie Nanny, you know, your grandma. I mean, she's like a mother to me, and God, there's not like, there's my mom and then there's her. Like, there's no more important women in my life that are so important to me, you know. Like, them are the people I just hope that I die soon, so I don't ever have to see them go.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like, I know that sounds weird, but
no, I know exactly what you mean.
You know,
I know.
It's just like one of them things. Like, I've handled a lot of death. And I don't always handle it so well, but there's certain ones I just don't want to go through.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Those will be that. Yeah, it'll be tough. But
know.
Are you still once you move up north? Are you still doing drugs?
Actually, no. Actually, when I move up north, I actually straighten up a little bit. You know, I'm still drinking though. I'm drinking and smoking weed, but I'm off the meth, you know, and I'm off the coke because up there you can't really get it.
Yeah.
Unless you go down to the cities, make a quick run, and then bring it back up and sell it for 3 times as much.
Right.
You know.
Not a bad business idea.
But no, what ends up happening is I end up actually. So I move up there. I get another job. I'm driving a forklift for this company, but then, you know, my cousin Reese walks in, you know, and he says, hey, he literally went to Hoffman Aseptic while I was working. He said, come on, you're coming with me. You're done with this job. We're going to work.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, and I'm dead serious, dude. Like, he walked into my job and pulled me out of my job that I actually applied for and was driving a forklift and said, you're coming with me.
That's
and I
so
said,
gangster.
okay. And so I had my first job up in Fargo, North Dakota, doing concrete for $10 an hour. $10 an hour, dude. So
Could
get this.
Dude, $10 an hour. Could you imagine?
Hey,
now?
and get this. And we would drive 2.5 hours every morning. So we would drive from Elbow Lake all the way up to Fargo, and we would drive home. So it was a 2.5 hour drive there, and it was a 2 hour drive right. We get smashed the whole drive back every single day. So my alcoholism was through the roof, you know. And we'd get up every morning, dude. We'd be so tired on our way to work, you know. We'd take turns driving. I remember I'd be kind of dozing off in the passenger seat, and Reese would kind of be sitting back, and he'd be driving, and I'd look like this, and I'd look over at him, I'd see his eye closed, and he'd go like this, and I'd be, you know, waking up out of a dead sleep in the passenger seat at, you know, 5 in the morning, you know, and you know, Uncle Reese with his tooth out, you know, he'd be flicking his tooth, you know, laughing at you and stuff. So no, he was good though. I just loved him, dude. I think about him so much. I a lot lately, actually. Just I miss him. So, but you know, so that was that, and then I did that for probably a couple years. We did that until I started realizing I could make money in the cities doing concrete. So now I knew, like, I had a trade. You know, I had like something I could do. So now I could go back to the cities and make, you know, $20 an hour, twice as much almost. You know,
right?
So that's what I did. You know, I met a girl, and I came back to the cities, and I worked for more money, and you know, got immediately back into drugs. You know, moved into a house with a lady that was divorced from her husband, and she was collecting alimony and just buying crack, bro. Dude, we would hide crack rocks around the house, dude, so we could try to find them later. Like, we'd run out, dude, be like, where did we hide them? You know, be looking behind shit, you know, looking for our little crack rocks, playing hide and seek.
Yeah, that's what we do in Grand Rapids. We play hide and seek with crack rocks.
So anyways, so that got bad, dude. That got really bad, and I got back into my drinking really bad, and that's when I got my first DUI.
Let's hear the story about the first DUI.
Oh, it was me and one of my high school. Actually, you know, it was me and the guy that was standing next to the guy that got hit by the car when I was a young kid that were out drinking that night. So it's a related friend, like a really close friend of mine. We were out drinking, and
was the first of all, was the person that hit your friend, was he drunk when
No,
it
was
happened?
a woman. It was an older woman. She was a house realtor.
Oh, I was just gonna say what. Now imagine if anyway.
Hey,
I was
you
gonna
want to
try
hear
and
something
connect some
crazy
dots.
about that?
Yeah.
So this house realtor that hits him, I have another friend. His name is we'll say Al. I have another friend named Al who's like one of my very close friends. His parents come to me a month later and say, hey, Robert, we just want to tell you. They took me over for dinner to tell me this. So we're selling our house, and we're going to use the realtor that hit. I am not even kidding you, bro.
Wow.
This is a real thing, man. That really happened, dude.
Stop,
I'm
dude.
dead ass, bro.
What?
I'm dead.
What?
My mom actually remembers that happening, dude. She remembers when they brought me over for dinner to tell me that, and I was like, okay. You know, I didn't know what to say. You know, they didn't even have to tell me.
What are you gonna say back to that? But
Right.
like, also, why would you even?
I was a kid, dude. I was like
That's just
10 years
mind-blowing.
old.
That's just mind blowing.
So I was like 10 years old, you know, or 11 or something. You know?
Yeah,
like,
but
I would have never known, right? Isn't that kind of weird?
It is fucking weird. But anyway, so going back to the first DUI, what happened?
So my first DUI. So anyways, I'm with a very close friend of mine, and we're just partying it up, dude. We're on that Remy Martin, bro. I remember it was when I started drinking that Remy Martin when I realized it would make my nose tingle. I wasn't even 21 yet. And we're going out to, do some dirt out in the country, and it's like raining out, and we're like doing some freestyle rapping, and we're like hammered, dude. And all of a sudden, I'm just flying off this like ditch or like cliff type. In Minnesota, it's all grass, so it wouldn't be considered a cliff, but it seemed like one because I was flying through the air, and then I hit a tree. And airbags went off. And
it's not, you have to laugh. We've talked about this on the podcast and other episodes. You have to laugh at this shit. Otherwise, you'll just be depressed.
Yeah. No, hey, trust me. I mean, there's years of dealing with this that I've been through. So, I think this came unplugged. Hello? Okay. Sorry. Yeah, there's years of dealing with, just so you know, so we can laugh about some of this. It's okay.
Absolutely.
So, but anyway, so I go flying off this like cliff, dude, and I'm like, whoa, I'm hammered. I honestly don't even really know what a DWI consists of because I'm so young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I do a hell of a lot of drugs, and I know you're not supposed to drink and drive, but you know what I mean? I don't really know the consequences that I'm looking at, so I ended up almost killing my best friend. Oh. And, I almost killed myself. I still got the scar on my neck. Man, there was just blood squirting out of me and blood squirting out of him. And I remember we went to the hospital. They didn't actually arrest me. I called the cops on my cell phone back when I think it was like my first cell phone actually. And I called the cops, and they came, and we went to the hospital. I remember he was so mad because his mom came in and, Robert, are you okay?
Didn't even care about him.
He's in the bed like dying,
like, Mom.
Sorry, we shouldn't be laughing about that either. If it means anything, the dude got paid $10,000 from my insurance company. So, and he's fine and well. So I'm pretty sure he still lives at his mom's.
Oh, really? Damn. All right.
That's the direction that went.
So do you end up having consequences from this, I would imagine?
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the deal. On your first DUI, it's pretty late, and I was so young, and I'm sure they've kind of thought I was somewhat innocent. I mean, I had like, the good State Farm insurance back then. On paper, I was still decent. I remember they even actually paid me for missing work after I got the DUI. They paid my car off, and my insurance paid me. But I have not been able to use anything but Progressive since. So shout out Progressive. Thank you for covering me and all my children. So, but no, yeah, that. So I mean, I kind of. So here's the thing: I didn't really get to suffer the consequences of the first DUI because I just got another vehicle, kept driving, and got a second DUI. I was like, hey, let's go. We're already in it. Let's get in it really.
Let's just start racking them up.
Right. So then I got my second one. I was driving downtown Anoka looking for somebody that I shouldn't have been looking for. I like ran into a tree, and I was drinking all these Long Island iced teas. And I remember when I left, I still vividly remember leaving the bar that night and telling some lady that was like, gosh, she must have been 50. And I keep in mind, I'm 21. I just turned 21.
Baby.
I'm like, you wouldn't come with me? How dare you? Who do you think? I remember I was like chewing her ass out. I'm like, I'm young. I'm prime meat. I'm like, dude, I'm like a kid, It was hilarious, dude. I was so lit up. Anyways, I ended up hitting a tree. The cops come. I'm like, I chucked these keys. I don't even know. I threw them as far as I could. I remember I was driving my ex-girlfriend's stepdad's truck or something. I didn't care about the car,
Yeah.
So anyways, I took the keys, and I pull it out, and I just start peeing everywhere, hoping that they don't come by me. I'm like, stay away from me. And they're like, turn around, sir. I ended up waking up in a puddle of my own piss that morning too. I was bummed out. So yeah, so then I did that, and then I got that one, and I had to clean up my act a little bit. It took me a while though. Mm-hmm. What happened is I met my first kid's mom right around then.
How'd you meet her?
Well, I met her going out. Like, I would go to the bars every night, I actually met her, but she wasn't like a bar junkie. She was staying with this friend, and she was like, didn't have anywhere to go, and she was waiting on this apartment up in Cambridge, and she had a daughter at the time. And I remember I had freaked out, and this was before my old man died. So I had freaked out at this house I was living in, the crack lady house. I freaked out. I was eating some shrooms, and this guy lived downstairs that was a huge crackhead too, and this girl came over, and I was like all on these mushrooms, and all I remember is I got up out of my I remember my one old man sitting here and one old man sitting there, and they were like looking at each other intensively because they both had a crack rock and they wanted to smoke it, dude. And I was on shrooms, dude, and I was like tripping, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I just get up, dude, and I throw the table, I throw the TV, I rip the phone out, I run upstairs, I start screaming at the lady, "You crackheads! How dare you! You got children!" I'm freaking out. I call my dad on an old house phone, the old house phones, you pick them up.
Yeah.
I call my dad, "Dad, come get me, I'm messed up." He comes and gets me, and he took me to his house for a couple nights, and he just kind of laid me in bed, dude. He just took care of me, and we just smoked weed for 2 days. And, and then I never went back to that house. I ended up staying with my kid's mom out in Cambridge.
Imagine that conversation when you just walk back in the house. You're just like, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry."
Dude, it was so messed up, man. It was so messed up, dude. And anyways, so I ended up, that's when I moved out of there, and I ended up moving in with my oldest kid's mom, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, I met my oldest kid's mom, and I had my oldest son when I was 22.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I thought it was all beginning for me. But it didn't, I thought having a kid would kind of maybe like set me straight a little bit, but
Yeah.
it did not. It got worse. So my addictions got worse.
He said it got worse.
It did, dude. Now I had a kid, dude. Now I could I don't know. Now I had another toy. It was for me. I had someone to buy stuff for.
Yeah.
Teach stuff to, and apparently maybe some of the wrong stuff, now looking in hindsight, right?
Isn't that so interesting how we you just think, and we've talked about this before, how you just think that like the checklist thing, right? Like you're going to get the wife, the kids, the girlfriend, whatever it is, the car, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you think it's going to move the needle of happiness a little bit, and it might for a minute. And you think it might make you change, but really at the end of the day, if you don't spiritually align, if you don't take care of that mental health, that stuff just really, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much as you think it would.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude. I was always trying to fill some kind of void.
Exactly.
Always. I was always trying to fill a void. The thing is that older now, I realize that I'm never going to be able to fill a void with things.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Or a certain person.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to do that.
Yeah.
For me.
Right. For most people.
Yeah. So,
and that doesn't mean that your kids don't mean the world to you, but until you are mentally in the right place, maybe you can't see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%, But I mean, I try to put my energy into positive things, and I just spent a lot of life in hell.
Yeah.
So, and I did it self-inflictedly. I self-inflicted my own pain most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
People have choices.
Yeah. Definitely.
Granted, what their upbringing is or anything like that, once you get to a certain age, you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have a conscience.
Yeah.
I do. I'm sorry. I have a choice. I have a conscience.
so after you have your first son,
yeah.
What are the next few years like after that?
Reckless.
Yeah.
Big time, dude. I actually, so what happens is I have my first son and I get into it thick, dude. I'm into drugs bad. I'm really in it bad because now I'm making really good money. I'm working as a foreman for these concrete crews, and guys are buying me trucks to drive and letting me use, that's when the old walkie-talkie cell phone, the Nextels, I think they were called, all this stuff came out, and they were just letting, I was making good money for a 22, 23-year-old kid.
Right.
Then I have, and then I find out that my dad has lung cancer. So I end up leaving my kid's mom just because that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ever really put much stock into women in my younger life.
Yeah.
Maybe it was from my upbringing. I don't know. Something like that.
I mean, I'm going to almost guarantee it's from your upbringing.
Yeah, the women that I put stock into was my mother and my sister and my auntie nanny and my cousins.
Yeah.
The women in my family.
Right.
That was where my love went for women.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. That's just for me, dude, because everyone in my life left me, dude,
mm-hmm.
except for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the dudes are gone, man. They either left or they died.
Yeah. And what's crazy is it doesn't matter either way. If
Yeah.
it hurts the same.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
whether they chose to leave, whether they died from whatever cause, it feels like rejection. It feels like abandonment. It's crazy how that works because it really truly doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
It's just so odd.
Yeah.
But
Very true.
So your dad gets lung cancer. I'm assuming you guys had some warning.
Yeah, well, I mean, so he kind of just like on a whim called me and he's like, hey, meet me up at the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
We had both lived up in St. Francis at St. Francis, so it's just north of the cities, and I was living in a house out on the golf course there, and he just called me and said, hey, let's go have a beer. Me and my dad smoked a lot of weed together, we drank a lot of beer together.
So this was pretty normal.
Yeah, like it was kind of thing, and I was like, all right, cool, so I go up there and he's like, hey, I got stage 3 lung cancer. And I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, grab this dude a beer.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine. And he kind of starts crying. And, I know that my dad's done some stuff, but, he's my dad, dude. I think there was a lot of, when he told me, I didn't want to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe it. And I was like, dude, you're so young. Like, what are you talking about?
And you have your dad on a pedestal still in a lot of ways.
I do.
So it's like cancer compared to this guy, nothing's gonna happen to this guy. He's unbeatable.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the toughest man in the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're right. I was always looking for my dad's approval, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was looking to make sure he didn't want to beat me. Facts, bro.
Yeah, hell yeah. So how long after him telling you that he has stage 3 lung cancer does he actually pass?
It's only about a year, man. It was quick.
That's fast.
Dude, I watched him wither away so fast, and really I had a lot of regrets about the way that I treated him when he was dying. I was not there. I was a very absentee son, and he was trying, dude. I could tell, even though he was dying, he was trying. He would call and he would reach out, and I was just getting more fucked up. I was so heavy into my addiction, dude. It was out of control.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I was up for, dude. Back then, dude, drugs weren't the way they are now. Meth is like some kind of psych drug now. Like you get high, you can go and have a salad, and take a nap, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into a fucking fist fight with your girlfriend later. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's, back then, dude, it was like you would stay up and you would like have to be doing something. It was different chemicals. Like your friends would have to like pound food down your throat to make you eat, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to like knock you out if you wanted to sleep. Like this was no joke kind of drugs, dude. So I was losing my mind, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I was up for so long all the time, and everybody around. I was pushing drugs and I was cooking drugs, and all of my cousins and family members were doing drugs, and it was a cycle of money and power and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was anything, dude, that wasn't real life, because real life was not cool, So anyways, it happened quick. He died. I don't even remember the conversation that I had with him when he was on his deathbed. I remember the way he looked, but I wasn't there, dude. I wasn't present. And shortly after that is when I ended up having to go to my first treatment, I think it was, because probation had lapsed or something. And I ended up getting forced to go to this inpatient treatment, which was really good for me. I needed to do it.
Not to make excuses for you or anything, but when you're a drug addict and your dad comes to you and says, hey, I'm actually gonna die, and you've been using drugs as your coping mechanism forever, obviously the next thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna lose your shit. Because that's your coping mechanism. That's your only tool. You have one tool in your toolbox. It's drugs. And now the one thing that you don't want to happen is your father passing away. Obviously you're going to go off the deep end. That's just the natural reaction for a drug addict at that position when you don't have any other source of,
Bro, it was my natural reaction for everything.
Yeah.
All the time. I remember even when my mom left my stepdad when I was 12, I was like, yes, this is a reason for me to get high. I'm getting fucked up. I remember, dude, we had to spend Christmas alone. Mom, we're smoking weed this Christmas.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, it was like
I get it.
Anything, whatever.
Plus,
I already lost my dad once, dude. I already knew what that felt like, man. And you know, well, who knows, man? I was a kid, and who knows what I was thinking at that time, but nothing right, you know. So, but I had to go to my first inpatient after that. Actually, after my dad died, my Uncle Bill closely after that died, and then shortly after that, my cousin Reese died. So my dad died, and then my Uncle Bill died, and then my cousin Reese died.
And these are your 3 best friends.
Best friends, dude.
I mean, these are
the people that, before I really realized what the word idolized meant, but they were the men in my life that I typically idolized. I typically looked up to these men. They taught me everything I knew, right or wrong. It's where I came from, and they were all gone like that, dude.
Yeah, just
within
back.
2 years, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I already been through some traumatizing death stuff, so you know, things happen though, right?
And 2 of those 3 were like literally no preparation. It was just boom, boom.
Yeah, it happens, dude. And you know, so I just, you know, I spindled. You know, I wasn't there for any of their deaths, really. You know, at all. I made it for the very last 3 minutes of my dad's funeral. I do not remember being present at my Uncle Bill's funeral or Reese's funeral. You know, I don't really remember it all. I remember getting super high before Reese's funeral with a couple other guys.
High on weed?
No, meth, dude.
Oh,
Just a
really?
Couple old buddies, you know. But that's about it, man.
And then you said after that you had to go back to rehab again?
Well, what happened is, so what ended up happening is I ended up moving back. I ended up leaving St. Francis. My dad died, and, you know, my cousin and my uncle, and, you know, was born. And so my oldest son was about 2 years old, and I ended up leaving, going back down in the cities. I ended up moving into my own place. Well, while I was living in my own place, I ended up getting my oldest son's mother pregnant again. So I got another little baby coming. And so I got, and then I got, so I got 2 kids now, and I'm not with the mother, and I'm living down in Coon Rapids again by myself, you know.
Playing hide and seek with crack rocks.
Absolutely. Dude. That's where I'm at. So, but now we're into meth rocks again.
Okay.
We're back in Meth City. Actually, you know what? At this time, I think I had kind of like, so I was kind of getting fed up, and I had to do something. And actually, this is right around the time when your dad actually let me start working for him.
Really?
So this was back in right around 2006 is when I moved down there. So yeah, it was right around, it was 2007 when your dad started letting me work for you. So at that time I was like, all right, I got to put the show on. So I actually kind of did like straighten up. I like cut it back to just like Coke twice a week and, you know, just drinking every night.
Yeah, casual.
So,
I get it.
So, but I couldn't smoke weed because I was on probation all the time.
Yeah.
And so that was the other thing too. I thought if I did, you know, Coke, it would be out of my system in a few days if I had a piss test.
Yeah. Well, and you can sleep and recover. You know, you can do Coke you can just start doing Coke at 5 o'clock, be done by 10, have a few drinks to knock your ass out, wake up, do it all over again.
I remember when I first started working for your dad, he always threatened me to piss test. So I would always do it on like a Friday night.
Yeah. And then
hoping that on Monday morning, if he piss test, he never piss tested me once ever.
No,
you know, but he would always threaten me, you know.
And he never piss tested.
No. So anyways, he gave me a start, dude. And actually, it was kind of weird. I actually was just moving back to cities. I didn't talk to your mom at all. She ended up moving back here on a whim, and I didn't know that she actually lived back here. Besides through Auntie Nanny, you know, and I ran into her at the Cub, and she said, "Come on over for dinner." And then I just kind of hung out like family did, like we always did when we were younger. And I ended up doing some concrete work here and doing some stuff around here, and then. Your dad, Chris, actually, you know, he broke off and started, you know, distribution specialists. And that was in 2007. And that is when I cleaned it up. And he let me work for him. And as soon as he let me work for him, we started a softball league. And boom, I got my third DUI. So I leave the softball, I leave the bar. And as soon as I leave the bar, the sirens are on. I drive 7 or 8 miles all the way home. I get out of my car, I turn around, I look at him, I go, what? What, man? What? Why are you in my driveway, man? Turn it off. I just went off, dude. I was so brutal because I knew what was happening. I had 2 of these already, and I knew what I was looking forward to, and I knew I was going to get canceled. I was bummed out, dude.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It was. So anyways, that was actually really good for me because I got that third DUI, and that's when I had to straighten up. So I didn't have a choice. I did treatment a couple times. I went through the whole outpatient thing. Your dad was letting me work for him. I had to go to do a little stint in jail, actually. And so I had to get a ride everywhere I went for about 3 years. And I worked for your dad. And in that 3 years, though, I got a lot of work done.
This is something that you guys don't know about this guy, but this motherfucker can sell his ass off. Like, he is a natural salesman. When I say, like, this man put in, like, in 2 years, the amount of accounts that he signed up and the relationships that he built, it wasn't like he was just, like, wheeling and dealing. Like, he was building genuine relationships with these people. I've never seen anything like it. It's like he's an all-star. He's an all-star salesman. It's very impressive, extremely impressive. So,
hey, I even took a 7-year break, and they're still around.
Hell yeah.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad.
So, but yeah, no, anyways, so, and that's when, I think it was in like 2000. So actually so I started working for Chris, and then I realized that I had a career that I could do that didn't break my back like concrete, and it was pretty cool, and I was good at it. And
Makes
I could
you
tell,
feel good.
Yeah, and he appreciated the work I was doing, and I was building some pretty good, healthy relationships. But you know, the problem is when you got a drug addict, when you got an addict all together at all, and you don't actually get the problem fixed, and then you give the addict a whole shitload of money. Guess what that dude does? Woo!
Keeps being a drug addict.
It's party time, bro. So anyways, I ended up starting to make a lot of money doing it, and you know, then I went out to the worldly stuff, went and found myself a car and a house and a wife, and you know, I thought I had it all. I thought that's what it was, and I thought that's what life was about. And then I started drowning out, man. Started getting real boring real fast. The fights, the this, the that, you know, I just turned into a lot of world fleshly stuff, dude.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff that people think they need to make them happy, the white picket fence, dude, and it's just not the case for me.
So you found a wife.
I did.
So you got married, and this was
did.
your first time getting married.
This is my first time getting married, and honestly, I wish I knew now or then what I know now.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, things might be a little different. But I mean, I got my son, dude, and boy, that kid is amazing. So I end up getting married, and I end up having another son. His name is.
He's named after me.
He's named after the old Cha-Cha here.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't turn out like me. He won't.
Hey, I hope he does, man. This guy's a great guy here. Let's go. So, anyways, I have my son, and that was 2012, and I'm pretty much on top of the world, man. I'm driving nice cars. I've got nice things. But it's all material.
Yeah, this dude. I swear, this dude had more cars than anyone I've ever met. And he'd have every time he would come into work, or every time I would see him, he'd be like, "Guess what I did to my car?" And he'd be like, "I dropped $30,000 on this, $20,000 on that." I'm like, "How the fuck is this dude doing all this shit?" He was making a lot of money. He was doing really good for himself.
Yeah.
He was killing it.
Yeah, it was all right, you know. Well, then, you know, of course, greed steps in, and you know, you don't think you're killing it enough, so you start dealing drugs too. So, you know, when you push about, you know, dope a week, you know, you get some cash out of that too, right?
So you started dealing meth.
Well, you know, I'm just kind of like, so here's the thing, is I'm only doing it because I start using again.
Yeah.
You know, I start using again because I'm still drinking, really, and I'm still kind of using coke, you know, as a coping mechanism for my speed addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, you know what, I actually start using Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And the Molly runs out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what's the closest thing, man? I want to get high, dude. So I'm calling my old buddies. Same people. Same old friends.
Yeah.
Let's get high. Well, then I realized that, you know, I'm the man of the house, and I can do whatever I want, and no one's going to tell me what to do. Bro, I'm off my rocker high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back in it like I never stopped again, except now I've got too much money, dude, and it's not good,
mm-hmm.
you know. And I'm bringing this shit into my home, you know, and I'm doing these drugs, dude, a lot, and it's not good, and I'm getting mixed up with some people that aren't good,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not realizing, dude, that, you know, I'm getting mixed up with people that I think are my friends, but bro, I'm gonna tell you something about Minnesota. Those wolves don't just live up north in them trees, dude. They live everywhere around here.
Hell yeah.
And they come before you.
Yeah.
If you got that money, dude,
Yeah.
and you got something they want, there's some shady people up here.
Definitely.
And they will find a way in, and they did. They found a way into my life, that's for sure. So, and that's kind of another breaking point in my life. In 2014, So I'm in it thick, dude. Like I said, I got the house, I got the cars, I got the kids, I just move out into kind of like a rich neighborhood, and I'm living amongst, people that are way out of my league for sure.
He's being humble right now. He says he moved into a rich neighborhood. This was basically a mansion.
Oh yeah, you remember that place?
Of course, that was a mansion. It was a nice ass house.
Yeah, it was pretty nice, But I'm moving to this place, and anyways, I guess I'm getting in the thick of it. I end up not working at the office anymore because I've got so much business lined up. I'm making $200,000-300,000 a year, and I don't even have to call anybody, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living at the casinos, waiting for my check every couple weeks, just doing whatever, making sure the bills are paid. I'm not saving any money. I'm literally spending it as I get it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, and I'm gambling, and I'm pushing weight. I'm out there, dude, and I've got kids. I don't even. At this point, I'm so out there, dude. I think that I'm looking for something. I think I've got power. I don't know. My addiction is so rampant at this point.
With all this craziness, are you getting in trouble with the police?
No,
is there
dude.
Shit happening?
Dude, I can't even tell you how many times I got pulled over with dope up my butt. I mean, I don't know how. Yeah. I don't know how I'm getting away with some of this stuff, dude. Mm-hmm. Honestly. I mean, I'm driving around in nice cars, dude. There's times I can tell you right now, dude, I've gotten pulled over. I looked at the cop, and I had my wife on the speakerphone. I says, if I let you search my truck right now, will you let me go? Mm-hmm. He says, yes, sir. I jump out of my truck with dope up my butt. He searches my whole vehicle, dude. He gets done. He says, why do you have a secret money place in your middle console? I said, hey, man, I make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. People like to steal things. Why wouldn't I? Mm-hmm. He says, oh, okay, well, you're free to go. I says, hey, my wife drives this truck. You ain't going to be pulling her over too, are you? Long of the short, this is the kind of stuff I look back and I say to myself, wow, someone upstairs must be looking out for me. There must be a reason, because my heart's not bad,
It's really not.
My heart's not bad even then. No. I'm really messed up, dude. I've been through a lot, and so anyways, I'm living that life for a little while, but it quickly comes to a halt. So I get up one morning and I go to send my kids off to school. I send them off to school, and my two daughters had a choir. My stepdaughters at the time had a choir concert, and I remember they go to school, I shut the door, I go downstairs, and I go to sit in my office, and I remember I used to always carry like a 4-inch blade on me, just like a pocket knife. I remember taking it out and putting it on my desk, and I remember putting my out of office reply on. And as soon as I turn around, there's two guys in black masks just standing in my doorway. And they got a gun on me, dude, and I'm freaked. I don't know what's going on because I got friends that are shady, dude, and they do the stuff joking around. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They would come down, what's up, bro? But these dudes are masked up, and this gun is on me, and this dude is screaming at me. Mm-hmm. Give me the money. Give me the money. And I see his eyes, dude, and I see tears. Mm-hmm. Because I can't see his face because he's got a black ski mask on. And there's another taller guy behind him. And he's got a black ski mask on. He's holding something in his hand. And then they go, and they must have got desperate because he screams, police! And as soon as he said, so I got a whatever volt stun gun here. I'm out of it, dude. I'm falling out. I've been up for days. Mm-hmm. So 2 days before these guys came into my house in the morning, I got a phone call from a friend. And he said something to me, but he didn't say anything to me about drugs or money. And I hung up the phone, and I looked at another close friend of mine, and I said, I need you to take everything with you right now. And I gave him dope and 60 grand cash. And he took all of it. And for some reason, 2 days later, when them guys came into my house and said, give me all your money and give me all your dope, I didn't have one lick of dope or money in my house. I couldn't have gave him anything. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Not a thing. I was freaked out, dude. Something inside me was freaked out a couple days before that. And I was ready to throw in the towel. I was done, dude. I was going to quit. It was crazy.
That is crazy. Another man upstairs.
No, seriously, I was like, this is it for me. I make fucking $300,000 a year at my job. What am I even doing? What's going on here? So anyways, I see this gun in my face, and I'm trauma, dude. Like, you don't want to. I'm fight or flight, bro. You know. So I attack the guy immediately. I attack the guy with the gun, or whatever he had pointing at me, you know. And as I'm attacking him, he drops whatever, and he goes flying out the room. And this other guy had that thick, that number 2 rebar, you know, like that rebar you put in concrete.
Yeah.
So he had somebody, and I actually got information about this afterwards, but he actually had somebody cut that piece of rebar the perfect length so he could beat me with it if he needed to. So anyways, when I was attacking the one guy, he comes up from behind and just hits me right in the back of the head, and I just remember going down, dude. I remember going down to the ground. You know, the hard thing about it is like some people are lucky enough to get beat so bad they forget it. Dude, I remember that beating. Because I popped back up, dude. And I remember scraping my hands on the walls trying to get up them 2 flights of stairs, dude. And I remember my kid was up on that couch. And
your kid was there?
He was there. He was only 2 years old, and he was on the couch in the living room. My 4 older kids had left.
Wow.
So, and was there. And I got to the top of the stairs. And I was kind of out of it, you know, because there was blood everywhere, dude. You know them old horror movies where you got like handprints up and down? Like, it was like that, dude. And like every time they would hit me with this piece of rebar, the blood from my head would go splattering all over the walls, right? So like I had that you remember that house? I had that big 34-foot foyer or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, there was blood splatters all the way up on the ceiling of that house from them belligerently just beating. I don't know how I walked out of there. So I get to my door. So I get to the top of the stairs. I don't know on the couch at this time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I didn't know until afterwards because I have cameras in my house. So I actually seen some of this footage on camera afterwards. It's kind of freaky, actually. Extremely. And, well, some of it's even freakier, some of the reactions from stuff like that, dude. It was really traumatizing for him, you know. And so anyways, so I get to my door and I go to I go to open it to scream for help or something, you know, because I'm already screaming help. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. Like, I'm pretty sure these dudes are killing me. So I get to my front door. I go to open it, and they dead bolted it in. They already got it locked. So they locked themselves in. They planned on keeping me in that house, dude. Whatever they planned on doing to me. So anyways, I figured. So I don't know where at this point. Well, she's upstairs in the bathroom, and she's actually zip tied at this point. So anyways, she's not able to do anything, dude. You know, plus probably terrified. Right? So I end up getting out of the house, dude. I end up like opening the door, and dude, there's these gashes on my steel door that are like this. They're like this deep. So these gashes on my door are like this deep, right? And they're like, it's on my steel door. So finally I get my door open, and you can see on my cameras, I'm going like this. I'm holding onto my doors like this, trying to pull myself out. And they're holding onto my waist, trying to pull me in. Anyways, I finally break free, and you can just see me fly out my front door. You can see it on my cameras from my garage, dude. I just go flying. I have a whole deck around my house, you know, an outdoor deck, like built around the whole outside of my house. And I just go flying right over it. And then you see the dude that's beating me with a piece of rebar come flying right after me. It just stomps my head out, dude. It's crazy. So I'm bleeding, dude. There's flesh hanging off my head, right? So I'm bleeding, and he stomps me out, right? And then on the camera, you can see. I don't even remember doing it, but you can see I grab his legs, and I rip him out from under him, and he falls on his back. And then I do like the crab crawl. I'm like crab crawling, dude. And it was freaky, like the movie Halloween, dude, because he stands up over me. And he's got that piece of rebar, dude, and he's just like walking over me, and I'm like crab crawling back, looking up at him. And then his buddy comes running out of the house, and as soon as he looked back at the door, I get up and I just take off to my neighbors. And I'm running to my neighbors, and blood's just, you can see it on my cameras. You can see the blood just kind of like coming off me, you know. And then I get to the neighbor's yard, and I don't know if it was because he was trying to avoid some kind of law or something, but as soon as I got to my neighbor's yard, he turns, goes right into his car, and they peel out of there. They leave. This is what I seen on my camera, okay, afterwards. So while they're leaving, I'm actually doing the frog hop because I remember, dude, it was February 13th. of 2000, February 13th of 2014. It was like a Thursday because I remember the anniversary was Friday the 13th. I called it because it was a Friday the 13th. Anyways,
That's fucking crazy.
Anyways, so I get to my neighbors, and I didn't even knock on my neighbor's door, dude. I just opened it. Keep in mind, I live in a pretty rich neighborhood.
Yeah, like this shit isn't happening in this neighborhood, period. This would never happen in this neighborhood.
No way, dude. So the guy thinks I fell off a ladder, you know. So he comes run down the stairs. He thinks I fell off a ladder. He's like, do you want me to go? Are you okay? Should I call the police? And I'm like, fuck no. Do not call the police. Go check on my wife and kids. Grab me a pair of socks so I can die with warm feet. Yeah. That's exactly what I remember, exactly what I said to him. And then I laid down on the floor and I just bled. And I remember feeling like I was going to die. Like I remember feeling like I was just becoming one with wherever I was going. And then all of a sudden he came back with a towel and I stood up and put the towel on my head and jumped in his truck to go to the hospital. And as soon as I jumped in his truck to go to the hospital, the ambulance showed up at my house 45 minutes later. And then they threw me in the ambulance and they took me to the hospital, and I spent a few days there. I had to get like 20 or 30 staples in my head, and I had a little skull fracture. And I was having concussions or whatever. Like I would just for probably like 6 months. It was pretty bad.
Do you remember me coming to the hospital?
I don't remember anybody coming to the hospital.
So I'm in Cabo when all this is happening, and I land in Denver airport, and I open my phone for the first time in like 5-6 hours. And I have like 30 missed calls from my mom and from multiple people. And I know, so I'm honestly, I just based off of who called me, I thought you were dead. That's really what I thought. And immediately, like my soul was just like, he's dead. And we obviously knew that there was a lot going on at this time, and I was kind of just waiting for that, you know. Yeah. And fuck, dude. And
you're good, man.
Dude, that was tough. That was a tough time.
You're okay. It was, man. Things are tough sometimes.
And I just I called my mom back, and at this point, we didn't actually know if you were alive or dead. We just knew that you were in the hospital and like you were in really bad shape. And I just remember I got off the phone. I was just crying. Oh, I was just crying, dude. I was so sad.
Sorry I put you guys through that.
Oh, it's all good, dude. We've both put a lot of people through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I just remember crying, and I was with like my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I just really didn't know what was going on. I got like a very brief story. I knew that you were in the ICU and shit was not looking good, and I really did. I thought you were gonna die. And then I finally got back into Minneapolis, went straight to the hospital, and I saw you, and I was like, dude, what the fuck? I've never seen anyone be like that.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. I remember.
I've never seen anyone in that condition. And how you looked at your dad and how you looked at like Uncle Reese, how I looked at you, you know, like this untouchable human being, and to see you in that condition, it just shattered me. Oh, it's just so sad. Anyway, keep going with your story. Sorry.
No, you're good. You know that it makes me feel terrible because really,
but don't let it make you feel terrible.
The thing is that this stuff that I was doing I was the inflictor of it. You know, the reason why people were at my house trying to kill me was because of the things that I was doing, and these are the things that need to be talked about so that they can be filtered and fixed and mended. Yeah. You know, so this is good, man. It's healthy.
Yeah,
it's good for you. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. We can keep going.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, I was in the hospital. So, so I never went back to that house ever. I went back there one time about 30 days after. We stayed in hotels for about 6 months. I was still kind of doing business I was still doing work, but I wasn't present at all. I was lost, dude. After that stuff happened, when I almost got murdered, it got worse. It didn't get better. I didn't stop. As a matter of fact, that's when I got really dirty. That's when I was like, oh, really? People want to try to kill me? Well, guess who's got the power now? And I would take from anybody. I didn't even care who it was. I didn't care how I was hurting people. I mean, there are stories, dude, upon stories that are so terrible I don't even really want to talk about them, you know. But it got worse
Mm-hmm.
and worse.
And what's crazy is we all have heard the concussion stories with these NFL players and how much rehab you need to do for these concussions. And then the first thing you do is once you get out of the ICU where you might die is go use drugs. It's that is not how you heal your brain.
No, not just go use drugs, go and run it, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to go and relax and get high. No, I was back on the run, dude. I was having these news reporters call. It was all over the news.
Oh, yeah.
So I was having like these news reporters call me, and they'd want me to do these little interviews and stuff. It was weird, dude. There was a whole like 8-minute or 10 minutes chase that was on the news. You can actually Google the chase if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But there's actual like whole high-speed chase going the opposite direction of traffic at 9 a.m. in the morning because the cops thought that I was in the trunk of the car dead.
Mm-hmm.
So when I turned to go to my neighbors, my wife actually thought I was gone in the trunk of that car. So when she called it into the cops, she says, I think he's in the car. So the cops pursued them going the opposite direction of traffic because they thought I was in the trunk of the car dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so technically, I mean, in everybody's eyes, I was dead, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I got out of it, and I just didn't put a value on life. I didn't care at all. God, it took a long time, actually. I threw everything away. I went on such a tangent. I lived at the casinos until I burnt everything up. I didn't go back to work until I didn't go back to work ever. I waited until I was fed my last paycheck, and then when I was done with money is when I had screwed over everybody that wasn't family, because I actually never really screwed my family over, luckily.
No, you didn't.
Luckily, dude, I never did, you know, and I guess if I could have anything to hold close to me, that would be it. You know, I have always put I value my family a lot.
Yeah, you really do.
I do. You know, and I've always tried to like be humble enough to just like right my wrongs and you know, own my mistakes, you know, and I've made so many, dude. It's like, how could I not?
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair to anybody, you know. So, anyways, so this is, you know, now we're getting up there. Now we're back, you know. Now I'm, you know, it's 2017, 18, and I go to my first round of serious. Okay, I have literally lost 2 houses, 3 40-foot, 53-foot trailers of items, including motorcycles, $5,000 beds, $5,000 suits. Like I burn up, dude. I literally don't pay. I leave these trucks to get auctioned off. I mean, it was probably $200,000 worth of items,
mm-hmm.
you know, stuff, and a couple houses. And I don't even know what happened to my cars. I think I ended up breaking even on them. Anyways, I realized real quick that things are just things,
mm-hmm.
and that all the money in the world isn't going to make me happy, and all the things in the world are not going to do it for me. They're just not, dude. And God, it took me so long to realize that, Chase. It took me almost getting killed. It took me seeing people getting killed. It's taken me watch family members and people that I love and people that I know just die, and over 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 again,
mm-hmm.
you know, and over again. So I go, and this time I'm serious. And I clean up, and I stay sober for like 2.5 years. 2 years, yeah. It's 2016, 17, yeah. So it was right around then. Anyways, in this process, I meet the Lord. You know, I get introduced to God, and I get baptized, and I get saved. And honestly, that was the best moment of my life, because even though it wasn't the last moment of my use, you know, when a person turns their life over to God, it changes them. It changes their heart.
Mm-hmm.
It changes something inside of them. And the only time you don't ever have them is when you turn away from them at that point, you know. And so for me, when I got baptized in 2017, that was one of the biggest moments of my life. And then shortly after that, the week after I got baptized, amazingly, I hadn't seen my youngest son for about 1.5 years. And the church that I got baptized at asks me to do a testimony because I'd been clean for a couple of years. And I'm in Minneapolis, dude, like in a junkie town, like down by like Lowry Park. Like,
yeah, it's the hood.
It's the hood, dude, in South Minneapolis. And I walk out of this apartment that I'm living in, and I'm going to go to church, and who's standing there? My like 7-year-old son, dude, is standing on the corner, dude. And I'm like, well, it turns out he's going to this church today because his stepdad is in Teen Challenge because he cleaned his life up. And he's going to this church today because his stepdad's going down there to sing in the choir. So My son is actually at church the day I get to give my testimony.
No.
The week after I get baptized.
That is
my
wild.
son, and I haven't talked to him on the phone. When I seen him, I looked at and I said, "Hey, is he here because like he knows I'm giving my testimony today?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
No way,
Yeah.
dude. That I did not know.
Yeah,
that.
dude. I had my mom and my
That is
sister.
insane.
Yeah, my mom, my sister, like my brother, all of them were all there, dude. And was there, and I gave this testimony, and and so this is when I started becoming like, this is when I really started getting to know the Lord, and I started becoming a Christian, and and it really like really gave me some hope, dude. Like I was starting to really feel like there was life, dude. And anyways, I got involved with a woman, and it went sideways, and I ended up having to move back in with my brother. So I'd been clean for a couple of years, and I ended up moving, and I'm doing concrete again, and you know what happens, man. You go back to the same places, you do the same things. So here I am through my stint. I'm 39 years old, 38, something like that, and I'm just like back in it, dude. I get back in the cities, I'm drinking. Pretty soon it's just coke once in a while, then it's a little bit of acid, then all of a sudden I'm back on the Molly, and then I'm back on the meth, and it's so fucking fast, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Just like that.
Isn't that crazy how it works?
Boom! I'm lonely. I'm back on the meth. I'm hard at it. It doesn't stop, dude. I'm an old man, dude. Like this is crazy, dude. I've been doing this shit for 20 years now, 25 years, dude. When is it gonna stop? So, anyways, let's see here. 2019, in 2018 in December is when I relapse. I move in with a buddy of mine who happens to be my ex-wife's ex, and it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So I move in with him. He's trying to hide from me that he's dealing dope, and it's impossible to hide from a dope addict that's dealing dope. That just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not when you live in a 2-bedroom apartment.
The math ain't mathing.
Exactly. We're not, so this ain't fucking rocket science, So anyways, I'm back at it, full bore, just like it never quit. I am on the run harder than I've ever been on the run before. I'm already back in trouble within 6 months. I'm banging dope within 6 months for the first time in my life as an adult. I am going to die.
Once you start banging shit?
I do it, dude. I'm like, so here's the deal. I'm either going to die or be in prison the rest of my life, or when I get caught, I'm going to fix it.
For those that don't know, banging is IV drug use.
Yeah. So anyways, this all goes down, and I am, dude, I lost everything. I've lost my job. I've lost my family. I've lost hope. Now I've relapsed when I've met God. What is going on? I'm doing things I've never done before. I'm taking from people. I'm finding ways to get money that you find ways, and you exhaust yourself doing it, and pretty much your life becomes doing drugs to get money and getting money to do drugs, and everything else around you doesn't matter. I hadn't talked to my kids in a year, 2 years, who knows. I wasn't even allowed to talk to my youngest. That was just not a thing, dude. That wasn't how it was going to go. And I was done. So I'm in stolen. I don't have a license. I'm canceled for 7 years now. I'm kicked out of 9 casinos. I'm not even allowed to go and play free casino anymore because I had all my credits built up from being rich, so I could go and live at the hotels for free, Well, I got banned from 9 casinos, dude.
Why'd you get banned from the casinos?
Bunch of reasons. Mostly like drugs, though, and, mostly drug stuff, counterfeit stuff. I started getting into, I got a pretty lengthy record. I've probably been arrested 60 or 70 times, I want to say.
Yeah.
So,
not too long ago, you mentioned a story to me about how the cops were looking for you at the casino.
Oh, bunch of times, dude. There's been some crazy on the run stories. My last go at the casino, I was. They caught me once. They catch me sometimes. Sometimes they don't. It depends.
Yeah.
They've got me in the Superman mode. I used to wear these crazy disguises and stuff to the casinos. I'd dress up as an old man and I'd get a cane and Dude, I'd dye my hair and everything, you know, so I'd be kicked out of them. So I'd try to get into them all the time, you know. I had like a gangster one with the flat bill, you know. I had all these crazy, dude. I'd go and stand next to my friends at the casino, and I'd stand them for, 10 minutes, dude. When they'd look at, whoa, man, you know, like, that's you. I'm like, yeah, bro, you know. So, but yeah, no, I'd get caught. So I'd go to the casinos when I wasn't supposed to be there. And what happens is the casinos, they talk to the cops, you know. So when you slip your card in, or if they recognize you on their facial recognition, they'll call the cops, you know. So I was always running, dude. I can't tell you how many stories I have, but I got one though. I remember the one time I was, so I'm at the casino, I'm in the high stakes, and I'm wearing one of my gangster uniforms this time, you know. And I remember they hey, they come over here, I go running out this way, and the cop comes, grabs me by my ankle, trips me up, tackles me down, gets me down. Nice disguise, he says. So anyways, they take me to jail that time. I get out of jail. Then I go down to the other one, you know, so there's 2 casinos that are connected.
Yeah. And
at the other one, I'm up there, and they recognize me right away. They call the cops on me. So I sneak around the side, and I sneak outside, and I'm hiding I'm hiding in all these places, you know, and I'm hiding under the cars. I remember that night, I end up sneaking back in through the back door. I end up going into the pool bathroom. I end up climbing up one of the little stud walls for the urinals, and I end up hiding in the ceiling of the bathroom at the casino for like 6 hours, dude. I'm hiding on these big water pipes that have like the insulation around them. So I'm laying up there, and I wake up to because my cell phone fell onto the tiles, you know, them like tiles in the ceiling, you know. And then and sure enough, and I grab my phone, and somebody's in the bathroom taking a dump, dude. And I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. So anyways, I wait for him to get out. I sneak out. I get away that time. Well, I go back a couple weeks later. And then they actually catch me, and the managers are like, so these cops, they kind of know me, right? They're like, hey, weren't you? Hey, my buddy was telling me that he Supermaned you. Hey, when you got away last week, where were you hiding anyway? We saw you underneath the cars out there, but where did you end up getting away at? I'm like, if I had told you, you know. So, we played that game for a while. So, I've had these little stints where, but the last one was kind of like the end all. So I after I relapsed, then I'm in these unhealthy relationships, and I think I was living in a 10 by 10 fish house, a square canvas one, and I had one of them scrapers for your roof where you'd get the snow off, propped up in the middle so the snow wouldn't lag it down because it was so cold. I had a little sunflower heater. I was living there for like 2 months, dude, in the freezing cold, and I was like stealing vehicles to get around and stealing whatever. I'd go to these businesses and try to take tools or just whatever. I was scrapping, dude. I was trying to live for free and just feed my drug habit. And at this point, I was so gone. I didn't think I was ever going to be able to have a normal job again because I was so depressed because I lost my job with Chris and everything. And I was bummed out, dude. And I relapsed after I thought I was done. Mm-hmm. And what happened is I was in this stolen truck, and I was chasing down my friend. I was taking off, and I was just trying to keep up. And I was swerving out in I-70, and I swerved and get around this truck, and someone called the cops on me. Well, luckily at this point, I was out of drugs. Mm-hmm. I didn't have any drugs. I just had a couple of pins on me, and I had some cigarettes. And I remember I couldn't find a lighter to light that last cigarette. And the cop knew I had a screwdriver in the ignition. I got pulled over. They brought me to jail. I woke up on my hands and knees, dude, and just praying to go to, I don't know why, but I had Teen Challenge stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dude, just send me somewhere where I need the Lord in my life, and I need to be able to get some space from this world. Like, I can't. I was happy to be in jail. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, thank you. It turns out Auntie Nanny was praying for me to go to jail because I called her and told her I was going to, because I had called Travis, and Travis was in the money, and I was, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go up north and hang out with the fam and do whatever. And she's like praying that I get pulled over and go to jail because she knows how messed up I am. And funny story about that is I wake up in jail, and then I find out that when I'm in jail, the lady that calls the cops on me is one of the COs in the jail.
No shit.
Yeah. So the CO in the jail called the cops on me to get me put in jail. And I've got 5 warrants. I've got warrants in 5 counties, dude. 4, not including that one. So I know I'm going to be in jail for a while. So anyways, I end up, and it's funny how it works, right? Because when I first wake up and I realize this, I'm pissed, dude. I'm like, what is going on? This lady, who does she think she is? All I did was swear, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? After you sober up 2 weeks later, and I'm talking to her, and she's like, wow, you actually look like a normal human again. She says, I want to show you something. I said, what's that? She goes, I want to show you pictures of my grandkids that were in the car with me that night. And I was like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And something inside of me kind of changed
Mm-hmm.
and made me realize, this ain't a joke, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like this isn't like, this is people's lives. This isn't just affecting me now.
Mm-hmm.
It's affecting family, my family, other families, everything, And that last time I got arrested is the last time I used, dude. I haven't used since. So that was it for me. I got out of jail. I had to do the rounds, and actually it was kind of funny because I was doing the rounds. This was in 2019, and that's when right around when COVID hit. So what happened is I got through Isanti County, I got through Anoka County, I got through this county, Scott County, and then I was going to go to another county, and because of COVID, they actually let me out of jail. So here's the kicker, right? So when I'm in jail, they have you doing this stuff, filling out these forms to get into treatments and stuff like that. Well, if you get let out of jail, all your forms go null in a certain amount of time, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, what happens is they let me out of jail onto the streets. I'm scared, dude. They let me out of jail in Scott County right next to the casino.
Mm-hmm. That's not good.
No, dude. So, but I'm so committed. The first thing I do, I call my sister. I go to her house. I stay there until I go to Teen Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I reunite my while I was in jail, I did a lot of, self-reflection, prayer, stuff like that. And then when I got out of jail, I went to my sister's, and luckily I was able to find a bed, and within 3 days in Teen Challenge. So that's when I started my life, And then it all just has been good since then for the most part. It's been a lot better. I don't know how it happened, actually, since I've been back. Actually, after I went to Teen Challenge, I didn't know what was in store for me. When I got out, I actually went back to doing concrete. So I stayed clean, and I got through the program, and I graduated, and I went to a sober house, and I started doing concrete again. I was making really good money, dude. They gave me the truck, the keys to the truck. I got my license back. I was seeing my kids again, and I'm fully present, just like now. And everything's going really well, and I end up popping in back over here. I says, hey, the fams, they were mad, because when I took a 7-year leave from the old office, your dad wasn't too happy.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff that went down, your mom wasn't very happy either.
Mm-hmm.
And I popped in here on Easter. Just like when we were little kids. I did it on Easter on purpose.
Hell yeah. Calculated.
I popped in on Easter. I'm like, hey, I love you guys. Let me on in. It's Happy Easter, I remember we got pictures of it. Yeah. And I was wearing a suit and everything because I went to church that day.
I remember.
And then we just, and it wasn't about anything but just reconnecting at that point. And it just so happened that Chris asked me to come back. I didn't ever think it would happen, but God works in the craziest ways, dude. And now I'm back at my old job, and I've got all of my kids back in my life, and I'm sitting right here with you, and you're all cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like full circle.
Full circle.
Super cool,
Yeah.
So now I've been clean almost 4 years, dude. So
amazing.
It's a real deal.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thanks, man.
I really am.
It's not me, I have a savior up there, It's God, dude. For me it's God.
Yeah.
To each their own, but I gotta have that little map, baby. I need that, and I need that structure, and that's what kind of keeps me the way I am now.
Yeah. I mean, dude, after like that last like whole little stint where I was like, fuck, I don't know if this dude's ever gonna get sober, And I think people have said the same thing to me. Like, I don't think you're ever gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
It's just like once you do it the 10th time, the 100th time, the 500th time, you keep telling everyone I'm getting sober, and sometimes it's people just have to give up, and honestly, they might have to just give up to protect themselves.
I don't know, man. Addiction's tough, right?
Yeah.
Especially when so for me, like when I'm trying to get out of my addiction, they stick you in treatment centers with a bunch of addicts, you know, and then you become friends with these people. And, you know, when you're in intensive, so if people don't know what Teen Challenge is, it's an intensive inpatient Christian treatment program, and it's a 13-month program. So it's not no joke. You live with, and most of the men in there are, you know, they've been through some stuff, some real stuff, because it's like the end of the rope for most of them, you know, and or the end of the road or whatever. But anyways, so you meet these people and you start becoming friends with them, and then you see these people go back into their addictions, you know, and luckily I've been strong enough, you know, thank God, to not fall back into mine. But people feed off people, you know, and when you stick a room full of addicts in a room full of addicts, it's tough to stay clean, dude.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You know, so you got to find your peace in other things than people and things. I got to find my peace in other things than people in the world. You know, so that's for me, that's what keeps me sober, you know, right now. Yeah. But, you know, and also going there helped me work through so much of my trauma, dude, like getting like counseling and stuff.
Yeah. That's so important. You have to work through that stuff. I mean, you went through so many years of trauma without like ever just sitting down and talking about it with somebody. Yeah. And that's not healthy.
No, it's not, dude.
It's really not.
You know, I actually still talk to my counselor now.
Oh,
like,
really?
we're friends. Yeah, she's amazing. And you know, another thing that I learned through having like a female counselor and being adult and being like sober minded and clean and thinking clearly and being able to process things before I say them, or being able to, you know, like just, so having a connection with my counselor, she actually kind of was able to teach me how to be respectful, how to feel respect for a female that's not a family member.
Okay.
Seriously.
That's amazing.
No, I know it's kind of weird, but it's a deep thing for me, dude. I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, she probably helped you through so much stuff that you started to build like a different thing for her. You know what I mean? I couldn't put it in words, but.
Well, and I told her this. I said, here's the thing. When I first saw you, this is how sick my mind is. Even though you're my counselor, because you're a female and you tell me that I shouldn't be in a relationship, I think it's because you want to fuck me. That's how sick I was when I first went there, when I was just out of my addiction.
Right.
I said this to my counselor, who I am friends with. Like, this isn't a thing where, you know, I mean, you know, it's not like, but this is the way that we were able to filter, to get down to the grit, the real of what it is. You know what I mean? And to do that, dude, you got to be real straight with people. Yeah. And being real straight with people can be really, really hard, because nobody wants to be in my head, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you.
Trust me.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's hard to be vulnerable and honest, you know, about things sometimes. But when you can, that's when the true healing starts. Yeah. For me.
No, for me too. 100%.
Oh. By the way, when I say you, I mean me. I keep saying when you, but I mean me.
People understand. People understand. Yeah, man. This has been one of those things that it's just like, it just feels good to sit down and have this conversation with you, and we're both in a different place, and we're both, you know, healthy by our standards. Yeah. And it's awesome.
No, it's good, man. Hey, listen, dude, I appreciate this. I like what you're doing. So if anything I said can help anyone, hopefully it can, you know. I mean, the thing is that nowadays it's different. There's so many resources. Like, there's so much out there. There's so many ways to feed your mind and your body that's healthy, and that's not like gonna like kill you, right? You know, or people around you, right. You know, or put people around you in harm and danger. And you know, I just never knew that, dude. And people have a chance now. Like, it's a lot different of a world, you know, and there is so much more knowledge out there. These kids know so much more than we did when we were kids. And, you know, it's just different. And I'm in a way glad for that, for people, you know. I kind of like the 80s and the 90s. Yeah. You know, but it's just because I'm old, and it's just kind of where I'm stuck. You know? Yeah,
no, I feel you. But yeah, no, it's nice that there is resources now. And I think that specifically with addiction, they're making progress. They're still, with fentanyl, that's a whole nother conversation, but I feel like they're starting to make progress in ways. It's such a fucking battle, man. Yeah. There's so much that goes into it. It's such an animal.
Oh, dude, there's kids that were in treatment with me that were their drug of choice is fentanyl.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, whoa, man, like, really? You're just gonna pump like death into your body? Like, hello. I mean, honestly, I would be scared to be a meth addict anymore.
Me, dude, that's what I say all the time.
Like, it wouldn't even be worth it, man. I'd just go back to drinking if I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
You know?
I say that all the time. I'm just so happy that I got out, like, when I got out, because it's one bad bag and your life is over.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I get it. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
I think this was healing for me. This was amazing.
Bro, thanks for having me.
It's like another
really
form of therapy.
Hey, I hope that this is good, and I hope it's great for everyone and you, and you know, it's uplifting for me. I feel great.
Hell
so
yeah. Absolutely.
I'll definitely be able to go home tonight, and I'll probably sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
You know?
I wish I could tell you guys where to find Rob, but at this moment, he is social media list. In the future, I am pushing him to change that. Whether or not that's gonna actually happen is up to him. But I'm working on him. There's a lot of this guy has a lot to him. He has a lot of stories. He has a lot of things that I think that you guys would benefit from. I really do. We just got to get him there. Got to do a little bit of pushing, and yeah, hopefully soon I'll be able to shout out his TikTok, his YouTube, and we can get some more Mr. Cosentino.
Oh man, that's cool, bro.
Hell yeah.
I guess we'll see, huh?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Till the next time, or what?
Till the next time, brother.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.